Hare Krishna, as promised, the essential teachings of the Bhagavad Gita in 4 verses, which means I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. And in these verses, Krishna is explaining how realization takes place, how devotion awakens within the heart. And here it is. This is 10th chapter, and we start with verse 8. Krishna summarizes. Aham Shavasya Prabhavu Matasaram Pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And the wise should perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service, and worship me with all their hearts. Repetition. And why is there repetition? When something's important, that repetition is there. This Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I'm the source of Sarvasva, everything. Everything means everything. Doesn't leave anything out. So here we say everything that's material, everything that's spiritual, in both those creations, he says, I'm the source. This is very much a Vedic statement. It's something that's found in Vedanta Sutra, in the Upanishads, in Vedas, in which the absolute truth is defined as the source of everything. And then people ask, okay, well, where did he come from? So the answer is, well, that's exactly the point. He's eternal. He is self-sufficient. He doesn't have an origin, but he is the origin of everything. And that's in itself a long topic, but we continue here. Everything emanates from me. He is the source of all emanations. And what then becomes the consequence of this? Once again, we have this repeat. Those who know this engage in devotional service. Well, I know that everything belongs to someone else, that I've been given certain assets, certain things that I can then engage in my own personal maintenance, then I have to reciprocate with that. Everyone pays taxes, whether they like it or not, or at least they should. Why? Because we're getting certain utilities are being provided for us. They're not free. The council, the government has to then also provide these things at a cost. We need to reciprocate with that. Here, everything is happening effortlessly by the order of the Supreme, by his potencies. But nonetheless, at least we need to show appreciation. We need to show gratefulness. And one who's not grateful is not worthy of practicing yoga. So we have to at least know we don't need to give back, because whatever we give back to the Supreme comes from him anyway, but we need to show our devotion, and that is the type of giving back that's extremely important. So gratefulness, to show gratefulness. Then we go on to the next verse, verse number 9. He says, Machchita madgata prana bodhayanta parashparam katayanta shamam nitya tushanti cha aramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from enlivening one another and conversing about me. Well, what do those people do who, as in the previous verse said, who engage in devotional service? In fact, not just the previous verse, the previous verses, who worship Krishna with all their hearts, who engage in unalloyed service. Well, here are certain activities, because, all right, well, what does worship mean? What does bhakti really mean? Thoughts dwelling in me. Think of the Supreme. Well, what do I think about? Well, here's 700 verses that give you an idea of things that you should think about, put them into practice. And this chapter will give us an opportunity to do that, as do other chapters in their own way, from their own perspective. Thoughts dwell in me. Their lives are devoted to my service. And it's not something that I do on a Sunday for a couple of hours. It's not some kind of limited service. It's not even something that I do for an hour every morning. But it's my raison d'etre, as they say in French. It's the reason for which I live. In other words, Krishna consciousness is not part of my life or something that I do. It is my life. Bhakti yoga becomes my life, fully devoted to my service. All right, well, what's going to be the result of that? You will derive great satisfaction and bliss. It's reasonable to ask, what will be the result of something? Here Krishna says, you'll become tushtanticha and ramanticha. You'll be satisfied. You won't want to attain lesser things, because it will give so much satisfaction to engage in that service. And well, give me an example of what does it mean to be engaging in that service. Then Krishna says, Tushyanti katayantas shamam nitya. Conversing about me, exchanging knowledge about me. And here, as it starts, Machchita madgata prana, engaging my thoughts in the Supreme. So thinking about, which is meditation, and then speaking to others about the things that I've thought about, the things that I've realized, exchanging with others. This is what we do anyway. We meet with friends, we meet with acquaintances. What do we talk about? Sports, politics, the weather. We scrap that. How has that changed our lives? Externally, maybe it affects us, but there's only a limited amount of value in any of those. But here Krishna says, no. Speak about how you can advance in spiritual life. Speak about what your relationship is with me. Speak about how you have realized how to enhance that relationship, exchange. And this type of thing is enlivening and gives satisfaction. Now the next two verses. Tesham satyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi jogam tam jinamam priyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Now we raise the bar here. Here we're talking about something very extraordinary. Krishna says, Priti Purvakam. So we may start off our bhakti yoga by following the rules, by chanting and practicing devotion. Then we become more advanced and we become quite dutiful in our exchange. But at a certain point, we start to do things out of affection, and that's called priti. And even that grows and grows and develops. Love increases according to how that reciprocation becomes increasingly more fruitful. So here Krishna is saying that those people who their love increasingly develops and becomes applied to their service. They're serving me out of love, just like a mother. A mother doesn't just serve her child out of duty. She does so many things, gets up 10 times at night in order to pacify and change her baby, but she does it out of love. And the more she does it, the more that love increases, although it's very demanding, and it is really demanding. So, well, what about those who are constantly worshiping him? Krishna says, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So, that understanding, realization, well, where does it come from? Well, once again, it comes from Krishna. And he says, Dadami Buddhi Yoga. Interesting type of yoga. It's already been mentioned earlier in the Bhagavad Gita. Buddhi Yoga, yoga of the intelligence. In other words, how to come closer and closer to Krishna, although it's something that inspired by the feelings of the heart, but still it manifests within the intellect. Krishna enlightens and enlivens our intellect to come closer and closer to him. And now he continues with this Buddhi Yoga, with this knowledge of intellect. In the fourth verse, the last of those which we're reading, verse 11, he says, Tesham evanukartam evanukampartam aham agyana jam tamaha nashayatmi apnibhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So, but we may reply, all right, Krishna says, I give the understanding. But even though Krishna is giving the understanding, but there's so many things that are obstructing my ability to understand things in the proper way. Darkness, ignorance. Ignorance is a feature of this darkness, tama, it's called in Sanskrit. And that tamas is the same thing for darkness. Krishna says, in the same way as night is completely eradicated by the presence of a candle or some other stronger light, especially the rising of the sun. Similarly, in that same way, I become increasingly manifest within the heart and intelligence of that practitioner. So the sun rises, and as it rises, we get a better and better perspective of the world around us. In the beginning, it's just still remains faint forms, then it becomes shadows, the shadow becomes dissipated, clarity starts to come, and when the sun is really risen, then we see everything as they are. In the same way, Dadami Buddhi, Krishna is giving that intelligence, and as he proportionately, in proportion to our worship, as that worship with love increases more and more, to that degree, proportionately, Krishna is manifesting within the function of our intelligence, within our hearts, so that we can actually perceive him more and more. And this is a reality. This is the reciprocal reality of Bhakti Yoga, of which we really need to be convinced. We really need to have that strong conviction and commitment that yes, this is the reality. And up to now, we've gone into 10th chapters of Bhagavad Gita. The previous chapters have to have built our faith to this stage, that we have that faith, that based on Krishna's words, Tachrinu, he says, just listen to me. Now, having listened to Krishna, yes, we have that faith, and now we're moving forward. And that's what we need to do. We need to really move forward in Bhakti Yoga. So these are really wonderful verses. I'm presenting them in a real encapsulated version, but actually they deserve hours of elaboration each. And in the last 50 years that I've been teaching Bhagavad Gita, probably I've elaborated volumes on each of these verses, but this is what we have time for. As it is, this recording is quite long. Thank you for bearing with us, and Hare Krishna.